The Battle of Midway, turning the tide of the Pacific War. Their codes were broken, and our trap was set. I stood on the flight deck of the USS Enterprise that morning of June 4th, 1942, watching our Dauntless dive bombers warming up for launch, their engines roaring like angry lions ready to strike. The Pacific stretched endlessly before us, painted gold by the rising sun, deceptively peaceful for what was about to become the graveyard of Japan's proudest carriers. Somewhere beyond the horizon, 200 miles northwest of Midway, Admiral Nagumo's 4 carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, steamed confidently toward their target. These were the same ships that had devastated Pearl Harbor just 6 months earlier. What they didn't know was that we had been reading their messages for weeks. We knew where they would be, and we were ready to spring one of the most devastating ambushes in naval history. My name was Lieutenant J.G. Norman Jack Dusty Cleely, a dive bomber pilot with Scouting Squadron 6 aboard the Enterprise. Born in Coffeyville, Kansas in 1916, I graduated from the Naval Academy in 1938 and earned my wings in 1941. By June 1942, I'd flown several missions and thought I understood carrier warfare, but nothing could prepare me for what was to come, the destruction of Japan's carrier force in minutes that would change the course of the Pacific War forever.
The ready room aboard Enterprise was thick with cigarette smoke at 0400 hours. Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey, our air group commander, stood before us pointing at a map. The Japanese carrier force has been located roughly 200 miles northwest of Midway, he said. 4 carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, supported by battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. These are the heart of the Kido Butai, the fleet that struck Pearl Harbor. Intelligence from Commander Joseph Rochefort and his team at Station Hypo had revealed Japan's plans in detail. They would strike Midway at dawn, then wait to ambush our carriers. What they didn't realize was that we were already waiting for them. McCluskey outlined our plan. The Japanese would attack Midway around 0430. During their recovery and rearming phase, their decks would be loaded with bombs and fuel, leaving them fatally vulnerable. This, he said, is when we strike. Lieutenant Earl Gallagher, our squadron commander, noted the details. Beside him, Lieutenant Richard Best of Bombing Squadron 6 checked the weather. Scattered clouds, light wind, perfect diving conditions. Around us, the tension was thick. The Japanese had better planes and more experienced pilots. We would be flying at the edge of our range, 175 miles out with minimal reserves. By 0600, the Enterprise's deck was alive with movement. Red shirts loaded bombs, purple shirts fueled planes, and brown shirts checked control surfaces. My gunner, John Snowden, was already at his post behind me, testing his twin .30 caliber guns. At 0645, "Pilots, start engines," came over the loudspeaker. I pressed the starter, and the Wright Cyclone engine thundered to life. The Wildcats launched first for combat work. Then came the Devastator torpedo bombers, slow, outdated, and heartbreakingly vulnerable. Finally, it was our turn.
The Enterprise turned into the wind. The deck officer's flag dropped, and I roared forward, lifting off into the morning sky. We climbed to 19,000 feet, 33 dive bombers from Enterprise heading northwest. McCluskey had planned to rendezvous with Hornet's group, but after they failed to appear, he pressed on alone, risking fuel exhaustion. Hours passed. At 0920, our intercept point was empty ocean. My fuel gauge read half empty, 30 minutes before we'd have to turn back. Then at 0955, McCluskey spotted a lone destroyer racing northeast. He made a bold decision: follow it. 20 tenths minutes later, the sea below erupted with movement. 4 Japanese carriers, 2 in each group, surrounded by escorts. At last, we had them. At 10:20 a.m., McCluskey gave the order. Scouting 6, take the left carrier. Bombing 6, the right. But confusion sent both squadrons diving on Kaga. I nosed over and began my dive. The Dauntless screamed downward, altimeter unwinding, 18,000, 15,000, 12,000 feet. I could see the deck alive with motion, men running, aircraft refueling. At 2,500 feet, I released my 1,000-pound bomb and pulled back hard. The impact nearly crushed me against my seat. Below, Kaga erupted in flames from stem to stern. Lieutenant Best, realizing the mistake, redirected his group toward Akagi. His bomb struck near the island, exploding among fueled aircraft. In seconds, Akagi became an inferno. Almost simultaneously, Yorktown's dive bombers struck Soryu, setting her ablaze. In less than 5 minutes, 3 of Japan's 4 fleet carriers were burning wrecks. Pulling away, I saw Kaga's forward elevator blown skyward like a toy, her deck collapsing under waves of secondary explosions. Akagi was engulfed, her crew leaping into oil-covered water. Soryu rolled over, taking 700 men with her. It was over in minutes. 3 carriers, Japan's naval air arm, destroyed before noon.
Only Hiryu remained, hidden by clouds to the north. She launched counterstrikes that hit Yorktown, crippling her by afternoon. Despite our losses, we launched again that evening, finding Hiryu at 1700 hours and striking her with 4 direct hits. She burned through the night and sank the next morning. The Kido Butai, Japan's proud mobile strike force, was gone. The cost was heavy. Of 14 Enterprise torpedo planes, only 4 returned. Hornet's Torpedo 8 was wiped out entirely. 30 men flying into certain death to draw the enemy's fighters low, making our dive-bombing attack possible. Their commander, John Waldron, had known it was a one-way mission. His last words were, "We'll go in, we won't turn back." That evening, our ready room was quiet. Victory had come at a terrible price. Yorktown was sinking, hundreds of airmen gone. Yet the strategic impact was unmistakable. Japan had lost 4 irreplaceable carriers, over 3,000 men, and most of its elite pilots. The United States lost 1 carrier and 362 men, but had gained the initiative. Midway was a triumph of intelligence and courage. Commander Rocheford's cryptanalysts broke Japan's JN-25 code, giving us their battle plan. Admiral Nimitz risked his entire carrier force based on that information. McCluskey's decision to follow a lone destroyer led directly to victory. And the sacrifice of torpedo squadrons, dying to distract Japanese fighters, made the decisive strikes possible. The Japanese defeat exposed their weaknesses, overcomplicated plans, scattered forces, and underestimation of American capability. When reports of